do something. Let's see how far we can get. Resolution 20. Tax rate. Mines. Budget. Dash 11.
I've got a few comments under me. I've got just a few
Okay.
comments, but nothing big.
That's not a problem. Okay, that resolution. No, I do not. Let's see if the mayor does.
What's that?
Key to the box. Let me see where the mayor went.
Probably to the head.
Get a mayor back. 2024-11. What is that? Okay, that's that C3 zone. Okay. That's not anything to do. You got a key?
There's a couple fire trucks out there. I bet there's a key out there somewhere.
Our load cutter's in my truck. I was getting ready to ask that question. Reckon we can break it.
They might make receipts so they run rail
Oh, I don't think so. Wherever the situation, we're ready to do this. Is everybody in this?
Graduate high school.
He's right there. Probably others. Who else? Yeah, that's me. Yes.
I'll fix that on the key.
Ready? Go. I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Jefferson County Board of Commissioners regularly quarterly work session. Would you please call the roll? Wait, 17 present, 4 absent. Would you please stand for the prayer led by Mr. Joe Coleman and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Sammy Solomon.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all that you gathered together for tonight. We pray, God, that what we do here tonight will be in consideration for the citizens of Jefferson County. We thank you, God, for everything that's been done today. We thank you for our health. We thank you for the blessings of life that you bestow down upon us. God, we ask that you look down with mercy upon them that have less than we tonight. Look down with mercy upon the children tonight. Look upon them in foreign countries that are war torn and all without homes and without food and shelter tonight. We pray that you would be with us through this meeting, God, that our hearts would be turned toward you. Every decision we make would be based upon your holy word. We ask these things in Jesus' name.
go right into a public hearing. 3-49 special uses and special use permits. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Not hearing any, we'll move on to the next resolution. Resolution 2024-04, rezoning C2 to A1 Bramble Lane. Is anyone here to speak in this hearing?
It was approved by the Danvers Region.
Did everyone hear Mr. Seals? It was approved by Danridge Regional. Not hearing anyone. C is Resolution 2024-06, rezoning A1 to C2 Lowry Loop Road.
Approved by the County Planning Commission.
It was approved by the County Planning Commission. Anyone here to speak on this behalf? Sir, would you come to the podium and state your name and address, please?
Yes, sir, my name is Edward Otis, and I live at 948 Lowry Loop. I'm just looking to convert.
He's the owner.
Yes, I'm the owner. I'm sorry. So I'm just looking to move it. It's on a main highway, so and it's going to be for RV repair for a building that I have on the property.
All right, thank you, sir. Question or comment for this gentleman? Not hearing any, you may sit down.
Thank you very much.
Last, we have Resolution 2024-6. It's a BSS. Ms. Leanne? 2023-62. Yeah, my two wasn't good.
It's listed under old business, it should be under public hearing, or public news.
That one and the first one were denied by all three regions.
That one and the first one were denied by all three regionals. All right. Question or comment? Anyone wanting to speak? Not hearing any. Now we have approval and corrections of the agenda. Does anyone have anything?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add, I've had several calls, especially in the last few days, from citizens in the 7th District, and they wish us to look at a form of or take up wheel tax to put back on the agenda or as a alternative to property tax.
So you want this under old business or new business?
I would assume be under new business.
Does anyone oppose? It will be on new business. It will actually be F. Next on the agenda, you will have a, does anyone else want to add or delete anything? Not hearing any. Next is approval of the minutes. You have before you minutes of the previous meeting for your viewing. And next we have appearance of citizens. First citizen I have is Richard Lilly. Would you please come to the podium? State your name and address.
My name is Richard Lilly. I live at 1185 Chestnut Grove Road, Danbridge. I'm here for what most of the people are here for, the tax increase. And we need to do something about it, whether it be the wheel tax or whatever. But I've got $150,000 in my property and house, and now you've got almost $300,000. Not gonna float. Not with me, anyway. So you all need to get your heads together about this.
I'm sorry, but there may be a misunderstanding here. There was no tax increase. We
Well,
haven't passed
the tax
budget.
assessment.
It's your tax assessment.
Yeah.
It's only an assessment. Every 4 years, the state of Tennessee reassesses our property values. That is what happened. Nobody in this courthouse in Jefferson County has done anything.
But you all decide the rate.
The rate will be reset.
Yeah.
Hold on just a second. Mr. Bales.
I'm gonna try to explain it.
Yes, Susan.
I know it wrong, please, somebody stop. The state mandates that they do it every 5 years. Do you understand that part?
I just spent probably an hour.
Order. One
And
person,
she
sir.
explained it.
Sir, hold on, I'm talking right now, okay? That in the crowd, you're gonna have to be quiet so we can hear one person at a time. Sir, you have the floor.
I went over this with Susan Gass. I understand that the state sets it, and then you all decide later on down what it's gonna be. My problem is the assessment part of it. What I paid for the property and what you've assessed it at is two completely different things. And I think it's excessive. That's my opinion, for what it's worth.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Sir, are you finished?
Yes.
Okay, take a seat, Mr. Bell's address.
If I understand it correctly, the state mandates that they reevaluate the property every 5 years. They also mandate that the property tax rate be decreased, if I understand it right, and I may be wrong. Equalized, to where your property taxes will not go up the same percentage that the assessment did. So you're not gonna go up double your property taxes. I'm not saying they won't go up some, won't go down a little bit. I don't know how that works, the equalization part does. But just because your property assessment doubled does not mean that your property taxes will double next year. That's how I can understand it, and that's the way I understand it. Because mine, if you find somebody to give me the kind of money that mine come up as, I'll walk away. So I understand where there's a lot of frustration. Part of it is misunderstanding it. But the property taxes will be equalized to close to what they are now, barring any other budget items. Is that correct? That's
What
all
we're
I've got.
trying to say is you're at a 230 tax rate right now tonight. It will probably drop to around $1.25 when we reset in the county. So therefore, how we tabulate the taxes is going to change, but you're virtually going to pay the same tax next year. Unless this county commission votes to settle this budget that there's a tax increase. That's the only difference. It will readjust itself. So thinking that your property tax itself has doubled, it has not. How we tabulate it, what it is, you've rose in value. The value has rose up, call it inflation, call it whatever how you want to call it, but the value has risen, so therefore we have to reset how we tabulate. Sir, I can't take it right now. Next, we have Marion Knight, speaking on resolution 2024-11.
That help?
Marion Knight, 440 West Main Street in Dandridge. First, I'm sorry that Mr. Brooks is not here tonight. Concerns me a bit. I'm asking you to please support Resolution 2024-11, which establishes a new C3 zone. This gives a good rezoning option to businesses that would otherwise be forced to use the controversial I-1 zone in order to start or carry on their business. Not only would this new zone be good for business owners, but it also might give the jump start that the Regional Planning Commission needs to finally address the task you gave them in January of 2023. It would help to make your job simpler too when rezoning requests come forward. What is allowed in this zone is sensible and straightforward and avoids many of the noxious industrial uses that draw large crowds against businesses needing to rezone as I-1 or I-2. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have Linda McSmith. Please come to the podium.
Linda McSmith, 3766 Island View Road, Sevierville, Tennessee, District 8. I just want to support the fire department request for the increase to their budgets. Our department is functioning well now. We would hate to see it downgraded, which will happen if it goes back to the 2-year-ago budget line. So we're just concerned about that. I haven't been harping on that by any means, but in order for us to continue to provide services to Parrots Chapel community, we need that straight budget. Secondly, looking at some different areas related to roads and different things that need to be upkept. We are doing well over in Parrots Chapel. That was one of the things several years ago that was mentioned, and through commission and through the mayor, we were able to get those roads finally paved. We appreciate that. Also, looking to oversight of the zoning that happens in the county, so that we don't have some of the things that keep cropping up related to zoning decisions, zoning things going through without, and it started before they get final approvals, or the approvals didn't come before commission. So seeing a better process as it relates to that. And then also looking at the oversight of how the school budget is maintained and how they're utilizing the funds, so that there is an oversight, so that there is a better communication process of how those funds are being used. They keep being approved. Also, looking at building maintenance. We're doing a lot of requests for new buildings within the community, both school and otherwise. We need to have a better maintenance program in place and oversight with regular checks and balances. That's what I'm looking for, checks and balances in our county. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have Melina Rogers.
Hi, I'm Melina Rogers. I live at 1149 West Dumplin Valley Road, which is directly across from the mine. That is Whaley Construction Site. When I first asked the zoning commission about this, once I realized there's a lot of stuff going on over there, they said simply they were clearing the land. So now it is classified as a mine with the state of Tennessee. And so I'm kind of wondering, how does this happen when it's still zoned agricultural? So obviously I'm against the operation. I'm also against putting a crusher there because I have to endure each day, mostly 6 days a week, sometimes 7, the racket of heavy equipment that is scraping on rock, the sound of which is, sorry, sound effects, which is the jackhammers explosions. They happen as early as like 7:20 in the morning. They happen as late as 6:59 in the evening. You never know when this is going to happen. I do have some cracks in my foundation. Unfortunately, I can't prove that that came from the quarry, which I know it did, but I can't prove it because I didn't do any kind of surveillance ahead of time, mostly because I didn't know I was going to have a rock quarry behind my house. So, and then also, I've been coming to these meetings, and I'm hearing commissioners ask various people about environmental impact. So, it's almost laughable when we have not discussed the environmental impact of this rock quarry. So, you know, like there was a huge grove of ginseng. I don't know if y'all know about that. It was on the northern slope. Trees, wildlife, underground streams have been depleted. There's just all kinds of stuff. So, not only is it a hazard and a nuisance, it's also impacting the environment. The dust is horrendous, and it, you know, they just don't water things down like they should. The traffic is crazy with all the rocks that are coming out of there with the big trucks, from what I understand from a neighbor. They almost had a crash from a truck that had lost rocks. It's funny when you look at the routes that the trucks make, and I think they're doing this to avoid TDOT. They go in all different directions, back to Snyder Road. So I just kind of wonder if we called in some TDOT or MSHA or something like that, how that would affect the operation. Oh, sorry. Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So, and then, you know I'm against that, so anyway, but I was here also when y'all were talking about rezoning and that kind of stuff, and so I wonder if, instead of working with the maps and rezoning the maps, if we just had better definitions of what is in each zoning, that might prevent some of this. Thank you all, appreciate it.
Thank you. Next, we have Kai Ravenborg.
Yeah, I'm here to talk about the new assessments that came out. Needless to say, that was a big,
Sir, would you say your name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, my name's Kai Ravenborg. I live at 1833 Oak Grove Road. I was really happy when I saw our assessment because it was a nice valuation. Obviously, when you pay $7,000 in taxes, then you start thinking about, 2.35, that's a little concerning. But you explained it well, that it's going to go to the state, then it's going to come here and likely be in the 1.2, 1.25 range. So I think that's real helpful. I think it's important that the commission communicate this out to the public because that, they just got those assessments. Susan Goss, I don't know if she's here, but, that had to be a hard job just trying to get those assessments out and then dealing with the crush of complaints because she was just doing what law dictated. So again, thank you for what you did. And thanks for the explanation. And I just hope that the communication is more public to help with the.
We're going to work with this on the county website, so we hope to have it adjusted to where you can actually see explanations.
Right. Yep. Okay. That's all I've got to say. Thank you much.
Thank you, sir. That concludes appearances of citizens. Did anybody wish to speak that didn't get to? Mr. Doctor?
Comment or two?
Sure.
Just real quick, my doubled as well, but like this other gentleman, if my build it back for what it was previously valued at, so I'm going to increase my homeowner's insurance so I can have enough coverage on it to build back, and I stay at the certified rate as close as possible. I can't remember who it was, but someone suggested to me prior to the meeting that perhaps next time there's a reappraisal could do it, or maybe Susan Gass could explain in with the appraisal notice so that everybody gets a copy.
Anyone else? Let's move right along. We got proclamations and courtesy resolutions. That would be folks in the community that have been deceased: Eddie Woods, Michael Romines, Johnny Carmichael, and David Davenport. You will have notaries and bonds. They'll be in your handouts. Next, we have nominating committee, election of committees, boards, and commissions. We have the audit committee, Gary Jett.
My face is on it. You slipped out here.
On April 2nd at 8:30, the auditing committee met, and we elected new chairman and secretary, and we had the department heads present to us. There was 4 audit findings with explanations, and so once they presented to us, we did adjourn the meeting. And is there any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we have nominating committee, Ms. Heidi Thomas, Chair.
The following nominations come from the nominating committee. For the Animal Control Oversight Board, Ronnie Coleman, and the term will be from June 2024 to June 2027. On the County Board of Equalization, the following people: Bob Hardy, Charles Briggs, Charles Crosby, L.E. Smith. And those terms run from April 2024 to April 2026. And for the Industrial Development Board, Dwayne Sykes. And that term will be from April 2024 to September 2025.
Question or comment? Not hearing, we'll move right along to the Long Range Planning Committee, Mr. Jim Snuggers.
So I had intended to present the entire survey results in this meeting, but due to our time constraints, we'll catch that at another time.
Does anybody have a question or comment for Mr. Snodgrass? Thank you, sir. Mr. Mayor, howdy.
All my property is for sale at the assessed value. Cash. Thank you, members of the commission. Appreciate the opportunity to be before you. I have one mayoral appointment, Colin McRae, for the EMS board. He is now at Park West Medical Center, but he's still resident of the county, very knowledgeable about EMS. So that's a mayoral appointment for you. You will find in your packet a TOSHA plan that we have to do every 4 or 5 years. The state requires it. It's just a housekeeping matter that we have to do, and we provide that plan to you. Also, when it comes to CDBG, we're working on that CDBG grant. We use community development partners. We have to ask for different companies to give us a prospectus of what they would do. Community development partners is the company we use. They're the only one applied. They're the ones that administer it. We've had good results with them. Also, you'll find in your packet an eminent domain reform letter with the help of Mr. Seal, or with a lot of his writing expertise. Just wanted to give that, put that out there. We will change it from to whom it may concern to each individual that's been involved. Not sure Mr. Seal will probably address that here in just a moment. So we want you to be aware of that. If you see something in the letter that you think needs to be changed, because it's kind of from the mayor and county commission, so I want to make sure I reflect what you say. So another item that's in here is a lease agreement. It's with Appalachian Electric. They are putting a EV station at the new clerk election office out there. No charge to you. It doesn't cost us anything. It's just a 5-year agreement, since that doesn't involve funds. Because if it involves funds, I think John Neal will be saying, we can't go past the budget year, so there's no money involved here. This just says we're not going to take their parking space away after they put an EV charger in. So that's that one. The other one is, you will see, I just handed it out, and it's a health department contract, and it's kind of equalizing the pay. The interesting thing is they sent it to me and said, we want you to request this, which I've always wondered when somebody requests me to request something, what the validity of it is. But they want to equalize the salary. All county health department employees will be based on the state plan. It's no cost to us. The state will reimburse. So the way it was explained to me today, if you have somebody doing this position, say executive type 1, and another one executive type 1, if they're with the state, they probably make more money than the county employee, which you know how that works out. So option 1, this contract that I've got, just needs your approval, doesn't cost you any money. They'll reimburse, and it will equalize that pay. We'll have equality out there. And
question or comment for the mayor? Mr. Dockery.
Here, but since we've got a lot, the county clerk's office where you get tags, election commission, the office on aging, and the veteran service officer is close to moving into a new building located across the road from the jail and justice center. if all you're doing is renewing tags, it has a drive-by window, you can stay in your car and do it. I was just wondering if you had any estimate on when they'll start moving in.
We've asked the department heads to schedule the movement of the IT and the phones and all that, and I think Mr. Herndon's looking somewhere around the 22nd. Frank, you can.
Mr. Dockery, my plan is to probably close our office after close of business on Saturday the 20th of this month. Be closed probably Monday and Tuesday. I'm going to spend a lot of time Saturday and Sunday moving stuff myself, but there'll be a few things Monday and Tuesday we have to move. And then if all goes as planned, reopen Wednesday morning at our new location.
So we're getting ready to move. In addition to that, sometimes we forget, it almost doubles the space that the health department's going to be using. So we've expanded the health department too. So I want to give you a brag on you all on giving us the opportunity to do this with our opioid task force. We're one of 2 counties in the United States that was selected this quarter for exemplary work with the opioid settlement planning process. I've got that press release on your desk, and I'll have a few more, and it's starting to get in the newspapers and the state newspapers. We're the first entity in the state of Tennessee to get this award. In addition to that, they only selected 2 people each quarter. The county that got it was Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, and Jefferson County, Tennessee. And I think we should all be proud of the work that our opioid task force did on that.
Thank you, sir. Question or comment for the mayor? You're free to go. Not too far. Next, we have chairman's comments. All I have for you tonight is we're looking into training on zoning. My star witness for this, there's a class that you can actually take now with the state of Tennessee about zoning, and you learn a lot about zoning, but Mr. Paul Lowe's not here this evening. Sir?
I forgot, not a lack of importance, but David Lawmire's father is really sick, and they called him back to the hospital today, and that's why David's not here.
Our thoughts and prayers go out. Okay, back to commission business. We got to start watching our attorney bills. They're getting bigger, and we're having to move more money. So the whole county's having to spend more in attorney fees. So we got to be careful with that to get this year in. And the only other thing that I have is anyone that's having trouble tabulating the budget, any kind of budgetary concerns, get with me or Jesse. We're discussing having a special class that will be open to the public, that we will get in depth and discuss the mechanics of how it works. So anybody that's interested, contact me or Jesse's office, and we'll be glad to put something together if there's enough people interested, and it'll be very informative. It would be something neat for everybody. That's all I have, so we move on to other elected officials. You have Circuit Sessions Court Clerk. Anyone, question or comment? Direct towards his office. Got a fire alarm policy. County Clerk Frank Harrington, I believe he has something for us this evening.
Already touched on one, the office move. Thank you all very much for your support of that. I know there wasn't without some hurdles, but it is looking good for completion, looking good for move-in, and very excited about it, the services that it will bring to our county. In addition to that, Ms. Huffaker asked me last week about the electric vehicle fee. There's been some questions, and you all may receive some questions from your constituents. Anyone that owns or operates a hybrid vehicle, be it a plug-in hybrid or a non-plug-in hybrid, this year, due to the Transportation Modernization Act that the state legislature passed, is subject to a $100 increase in your tag fee. Anyone who operates a completely electric vehicle, battery only operated, no gasoline at all, is subject to a $200 surcharge in their registration fee. Those are designed to offset their reduction in gas tax that they're paying. So not out of our office, not out of the county, nothing I can do about it, and I've been cussed out plenty of times about it. But it's state legislation, and we're just following what the state says to do.
Question or comment for Mr. Frank? Not hearing any, we'll move right along. Highway Department, Charles Tipton, handout. Is Charles with us tonight? He have anything to say? Thank you, sir. Register of Deeds, Ed Steiner. Question or comment? Not hearing any. Sheriff's Department, Mr. Coffey. Is that a question or comment for the sheriff? Move right along. Assessor Property, Susan Gass. I'd imagine you're right popular tonight. Do you have anything you'd like to say to address? Come to the podium, please. Thank you.
I think there's been a lot of confusion as to the values of properties. It's mandated by the state that we do this in a reappraisal year. We are required to be at 100% of market value. And I don't think there's anybody in this room that's not aware of all of the people moving in and the shortage of homes in our county and property. And it's simply inflated the value of property. I've never seen an increase like this since I've worked for the county. It's the largest ever. And my office is open. We're taking phone calls. We're taking walk-ins. Anybody that has a question, please stop by my office and see me. And it's mandated by the state. If I don't do it and I don't meet certain criteria, the state will come in and do it for me and then charge the county for them doing my job. So it is what it is. We all have to move forward with it. So thank you very much.
Does any of the commissioners have a question?
I don't know if Susan's the best person to answer this, or John Neal, or you, Jimmy, but could somebody please explain the certified tax rate?
Okay.
And
What happens in a reappraisal, value goes up. After we get through with hearings and everything, we will calculate a certified tax rate that brings the tax rate down to the point where it generates the same amount of money that the county required to operate last year. Now then, that certified rate does not include the growth that we've seen in the past year. It's just puts you back from where you were last year. So this body can choose to increase that rate with a public hearing, or you can keep that certified rate. If the certified rate is kept, the majority of the people would see a tax bill very similar to what they had this year. Now then, the reason we do reappraisals is because some properties appreciate more rapidly than others. So reappraisals are simply to level the playing field every 5 years. And some properties don't appreciate as rapidly as others, so those properties will see a decrease in taxes. And some properties appreciate at a much more rapid rate than other properties, which tends to be lake properties. And those are the ones that might see an increase in property taxes.
Anyone else for Mr. Doctor?
Just to clarify, you're not the one that would cause a property tax increase, it's this body here.
That's correct.
Um,
Now, having said that, if your property increases at a rapid rate.
Yeah, you might.
Then you probably will see a tax increase because it's leveling the playing field all over again.
Well, I'm glad you said what you said about new construction, because if I remember correctly, I think the building inspector's report said there were 351 or 357 new homes in Jefferson County this past year. So if that's excluded from the recertification, that makes me feel a little better. The county incurs increases as well. I mean, healthcare insurance goes up, parts goes up, new ambulances goes up, but that's additional revenue that will help do what we can to stay at that certified rate. Just want everybody to know that.
Mr. Scarlett.
For clarification, the certified rate, when you give us it has to total exactly to the penny what we collected last year.
Well, I don't know that it's to the
Well, I mean, to
penny,
the penny,
John
but I
Neal.
mean, it's the same amount. We can't move forward by the reappraisal. We have to add that to it if we
Correct.
move forward. or
Yes.
decrease it to move other.
Correct.
It is to equalize the rate out.
It is supposed to be revenue neutral, is how the law states it.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
County trustee Jennifer Boland, question or comment? I don't believe I see her anywhere. Jefferson County Constables, Jacob Thompson, you've got a handout. County Attorney, Mr. Doug Drennan. Department and Director reports, Building Inspector Rob Wilson. Sanitation Department, David Galt. David, you have anything? David here? Thanks, sir. Department of Education, Dr. Tommy Arnold. Mr. Arnold, are you here? Thank Dad. Not hearing any. And that would be a quarterly report, resolutions for information only. Emergency Communications, Justin Crowther, handout. Emergency Medical Services, Brad Phillips, handout. Question or comment? Environmental, Tom Carter, handout. Finance Department, Jessica Elder. You're up, lady.
Okay, you all have before you the February 24 financials. If anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them at this time. Okay.
Question or comment? Go.
All right, moving on. Surplus property policy, we do have that presented here. Budget committee, before they went into recess, they did make the recommendation to move that to the finance committee. So that's my understanding. I believe it will be here for your all's information, but I will be taking that to the finance committee next. The next item I would like to add for next week's agenda is a memorandum of agreement with WIT Utility. This reflects our ARPA TDEC funds. We have an agreement with the other 3 utilities, and we have moved forward with those. WIT was put on hold. We just got approved for it to be a go now at this point. So you will have a copy of that if you do not already. You do already. So you have a copy of that. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer any of those. Also wanted to give an opportunity if you all had any questions on the fiscal 23 audit report that you have in your packet. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Health Department. We have Jefferson Park, Roger Minott. We have Office of Aging, Soil Conservation, Tourism, Lauren Hurdle, UT Extension, Karen Nelms, handouts, Veteran Service, Curtis Hudson. Next we have reports of committees, boards, and commissions. We have Budget Committee Chairman John Neal Scarlett.
We've started, but we are not done, Mr. Chairman.
I'd say put you off till next week.
You get through all the budget amendments?
We got through all the budget amendments. If y'all want to go over them.
Do you want to go over it?
Well, my preference would be to wait till we get done to give
What
a
would be the
full
pleasure?
report.
To wait?
Wait.
But
We will wait.
I'll do whatever the pleasure of the committee is.
All right, moving right along down to Resolution 2024-09, TCRS Military Service. Question or comment? Eminent domain reimbursement. I think that's still on your agenda.
We did pass it, and it is recommended. It was $396.44. Is that correct, Mr. David? We had passed a thing to pay up to reimbursable $3,000, and there is an additional $396.44, and it will be the recommendation of the Budget Committee to recommend paying that up. And I think Mr. David's here to answer any questions on that if somebody wants to ask him while he's here.
Yes. Does anybody have a question or comment for Mr. Seals? We were good. Moving right along to nonprofits, you have the Jefferson Alliance, Chamber of Commerce. You have a handout. I believe there's a chamber here wishing to speak. We're good. Companion Animal Rescue Education handout. Fire and Rescue, you have reports from all your fire departments. And we are down to libraries. You have reports and handouts from all your libraries. Old business, there is none. So now we are down to new business. Oh, I'm sorry, the eminent domain bills update by Mr. David Seal. Sorry, David.
Please don't forget about me, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, we have persuaded the legislature to reform eminent domain law to protect property rights. That gives us cause for celebration, and that's why you see the green ribbons in the gallery. Senator Nicely sponsored Senate Bill 1983, and Representative Faison sponsored HB 2119. Representative Farmer co-sponsored the bills and played a critical role as chair of the Civil Justice Committee. After 5 weeks of hearings and multiple floor votes, the language in both bills was combined last Monday night in a concurrence maneuver by the House Chamber. Here's what the new law does. With the exception of roads and utilities, with a presumption of public use, the new law requires the condemner to prove that certain things in a court of law before eminent domain is used. There are 4 of these things. The condemner must prove that the property taking is for public use under the statutory definition of public use. That means nothing for private benefit, nothing for private gain, and nothing for increased tax revenue for a municipality. Number 2, the condemner must prove in court that they have a plan for how the property will be used and a timeline and schedule for how the plan will be completed. No more of this taking property now and deciding 35 years from now what to do with it. So you have to have a plan, take that to court before you take the property. Number 3, evidence must be presented to court that financing is in place to complete the public use project. And then 4, property cannot be acquired by eminent domain until evidence is presented that no property is available from a willing seller in the vicinity. And we had a budget amendment to actually put the word vicinity in there. Gives property owners greater standing and recourse, and here's how that sounds. The new law provides standing for property owners to petition a court to make a determination of necessity. Property owners have never had standing in Tennessee to ask a court to second guess a condemner on the basis of necessity until now. That's why I mentioned the necessity doctrine when we discussed this back in December. If another city government goes rogue like Jefferson City and tries to abuse a property owner by taking their property for a recreational area, it will now be a tall order to prove necessity. I'm going to share some very important statistics with you. This will explain why I didn't answer Commissioner Scarlett's question back in December. He asked me what the probability was we can get this passed. If you all remember that. So here's that broken down. You're going to be proud of this. In 2005, the United States Supreme Court made its Kelo decision. In 2006, 43 states went into emergency mode and made laws to protect property rights. Tennessee's version was Public Chapter 863. Since 2006, a total of 29,140 bills have been filed in the Tennessee General Assembly. Of those bills, in the 19 years post-Kelo, 72 were relative to eminent domain. Of those 72 bills on eminent domain, only 8 were ever passed and signed into law. Of those 8 eminent domain bills, only 2 placed limits on property takings. Only 2 took away government's authority to take. The remaining 6 bills were administrative. The two bills that actually created barriers to property takings in the 19 years post-Kelo originated right here in this room with your resolutions. So don't ever let anybody tell you that your resolutions don't do any good down in Nashville. I'm sending you a complete list of those 72 eminent domain bills by number as proof. They're numbered and dated. Tennessee has reached two milestones. This is what I'm proud of with all this. Those two milestones are as follows. Number one, with the passage of nicely Senate Bill 1983 last week, Tennessee became the first state in this nation to incorporate the necessity doctrine into its eminent domain code. And number two, Tennessee is now one of the only states to give property owners formal standing in court to challenge property takings on the basis of necessity. And our research with some attorneys that I work with in Minnesota have researched this. We think there's only 5 states that actually do that. Concerning recognition, I think this county needs to thank the people across the state that helped us with this endeavor. I'm going to give you just a couple of little pieces here. There's a letter that the mayor mentioned in your packet, and that's the thank you letter that's going to go out to probably 20 or 30 organizations in the state. I called on more than 20 organizations across Tennessee that I work with on a regular basis, a handful of key legislators, and one law firm in Minnesota that was at my disposal through the process to provide legal services and legal advice. The 3 that I'll mention is Tennessee Stands with Mr. Gary Humble. They have the capability of mobilizing thousands of people on a minute's notice. You wouldn't believe how helpful it was to me to walk into a legislative office and the aide said, "We got 236 inquiries this morning in support of your bill." That's what Tennessee Stands has the capability of doing. So I want to make sure you understand that they did mobilize those people, and they had us on their action and priority list as Jefferson County every week that we were in committee. A group called For All Tennessee, and my good friend Justin Cornett took 5 days off work. He drove into Nashville. He worked for us part-time, of course. He did the critical work of collecting co-sponsors, working with co-sponsors, and committee chairs. And for you all that know about getting bills through the legislature, committee chairs are key. Justin has a rapport with them. He worked with them, and he got the job done, probably picked up 15 co-sponsors for us in the House and Senate. By delegating that to him, that freed me up to work with some of the legislators that were less familiar with it. And then finally, Empower Jefferson, I'm proudly a member of that group. Mr. Mike Foley is here tonight, and he coordinated with the Tennessee Constitutional Grassroots Coalition. That brought together all the conservative grassroots groups in East Tennessee. They emailed legislators. They had in-person meetings with legislators. One of them, or actually 2 of them, had a prayer vigil for this. So with that, I'll yield for any questions.
Mr. Dockery.
Would you mind, I'm gonna say a little differently. Would you mind sharing the final vote on the David Seal bill that Senator Nicely carried to show how much support that got in the Senate?
27-2. And the two votes were Senators Kyle and Senator Yarborough from Memphis and Nashville. By the way, on that note, we were opposed by multiple city governments. Memphis sent lobbyists to oppose me. Nashville opposed us. The city of Sevierville opposed us, and the city of Morristown opposed us in all this. And had some very frank and straightforward conversations with some of those lobbyists, and the second time they met with me, they wanted to do so in a conference room.
Anyone else? Thank you, sir, for your service. Next, we have new business, consent agenda. Where are we at?
Rules and regs, Frank, Ireland.
Sir.
So I talked with Chairman Carmichael in an effort to expedite your business. If you all are interested, I've talked to some other clerks around the state, and Charlie Curtis, your executive director of the County Commissioners Association, he helped me with this a lot, is developing a way that we can put some of our parliamentarian items that are non-controversial on a consent agenda. You all handle it under one vote and move on with it. With that, y'all can remove anything from a consent agenda at any time. This would be non-contested budget amendments, stuff like that. Notaries and bonds, appointments that are non-controversial, anything like that that you all want to put on a consent agenda. We can handle that much like the state legislature does with one vote at a meeting, and that covers everything as far as paperwork wise. And then if there's anything that comes up and y'all say, hey, wait, this shouldn't have been on a consent agenda, Commissioner X put it on there and I don't want it on there, you have the right to take it off, and we hold a separate vote on it. If y'all are interested in that, we can develop that for our next meeting, but it would require a rule change.
Well, I know from years gone past, what I used to do is ask if anybody opposed a vote, and that's what you're saying.
Right.
You know, chairman's choice, you could say if no one opposes, that means everybody's a yes vote. But if it's got to do with money,
right,
can't
it's
do
got
that.
to do with money, but parliamentary items, non-controversial surplus items, stuff like that, we could all develop, you know, place all that on one consent agenda, and then that would, instead of asking at that time during the meeting, hey, do we want to take this together separate, you all doing all that, we could just develop it at a consent agenda and then only speak about the items that are contested or.
That way we wouldn't even have to hear it.
Right.
Right. All right, anybody have a question about that?
It's in their packet, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, it is in the packet.
Did you?
Next we have.
Did you say under old business? Bess?
Yeah, Bess.
Yeah. I think you.
I thought we pulled that.
Did we pull it?
Well, it'll
Yes.
go under the resolutions next month.
Yeah,
Or
it was
next
pulled
month.
on my paperwork.
Did you say we have to do a rule change to put this on the agenda or to
No,
vote
it'll
on
be
it?
on the agenda next week.
It's on the agenda, but it is a rule change. It would require 2/3 majority vote to approve.
Okay.
And I think in there we included changing, there was some discussion, Leanne, correct me if I'm wrong, the way we do the honorary proclamation for Grateful Nation Project.
Your resolution, like your Grateful Nation Project. All of those items have to go, the way it is set, it goes under, your approval of minutes after you have citizen input. So, you go under that whole framework. I mean, our idea is to move that so that you don't have to, like, you're not sitting here through all day and just for presentations at proclamation within this committee.
You good, Mayor?
Yeah, I think it's good for the families that's here to be honored. They may or not be as interested as everybody else. If we could do them immediately, let them leave.
Right. Good things. Let's move along to resolution 2024-07, increasing school adequate facilities tax. Do we have anything?
What are we talking about?
What we're looking at is, I'll let the mayor explain.
Increased it to
I don't think
$1.10.
it can be increased.
Yes,
can.
it can.
They
They've
changed.
been
They've
increased
been lying to
all
us.
Oh,
They've been lying to us, but
somebody needs to tell us that.
yep.
I think he's fixing to, Tim.
So, there's legislation going through now, and you may know about it, but they're wanting to limit counties on their adequate facilities tax. So, one thing they say is you've got to have 20% growth from census to census. That's a lot of growth. Or you can have a special census every 4 years if you have 9% growth. Jefferson County is already kind of grandfathered in on this, on ours. So, Faison and some, Representative Faison and others told me this doesn't affect Jefferson County. And I said, and then I talked with Association of County Mayors and Tennessee County Commissioners. They said, you better get it rolling if you're going to try to do it. So I don't know how it's going to be with the legislature, but the way the law is written, and it's a private act for us. We're not a private act county, but this is a private act. Once it went in, the maximum was $1 per square foot living space. Every 4 years, it's frozen for 4 years, so every 4 years you could revisit it and increase it 10%. And so this is, we've missed those other windows, so the most you.
So 2006.
2006.
Oh, wait, when we started.
I'm not responsible that
Well,
far
I know
back.
you wasn't. Somebody did.
Let me just clear. That's in the past. You can get it unless the legislature changes and decides Jefferson County is different. You can add 10% every 4 years until the legislature changes. And Dave, did you hear anything about it?
I've had my hands full, Mayor. I stayed out of that.
So, bottom line, I don't know whether we'll get it through or not. But if you don't, you have to take 2/3 votes, 2/3.
Twice.
In 2 consecutive regular meetings. So
Regular
you can't call a
scheduled
special call meeting to do it. So our next regular meeting's in July, so if the legislation applies to us, come July 1, we may not get it. I don't know. I have people in the legislature say, it's not gonna affect Jefferson County, and I said, I'm reading the language, so.
I think what the mayor and I have read, we're gonna think differently, but we're certainly hoping.
We're gonna try. Well, it's up to you.
Question, Ms. Janet?
Is this like the impact fee, the average?
Facilities fee, like if I sell a house, somebody builds a house, $1 per square foot.
Then we make up dollars too.
Okay, I hopped across one, the county commission calendar. Has everybody looked at the calendar? It's the same one we've always had. There's a question, comment, now be the time. Next, we have resolution 2024-11, new C3 zoning, Commissioner Austin Brooks, and he's not with us this evening. And it was sent out to everyone in your packet for information because it hasn't come from the planning commission.
I would think it would have to go through all 4 planning commissions before it comes to this body.
Yes, it would. He was wanting to put it out for information if everybody was comfortable with it. So if it gets a nod next week, so be it. He can take it on. Okay. Moving right along, we got some surplus resolutions. And last but not least, number F in new business that we added would be the wheel tax. Mr. Scarlett.
Some of the commissioners weren't here, and it failed for reauthorization by 1 vote. Hopefully, we can reconsider that. I am getting a tremendous amount of people that are asking, is this not a fairer tax than the property tax, especially after the reappraisals? Right now, the wheel tax, what is going to expire, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Frank, 30th, is that correct?
It already expired
March 30th. So it expired March 30th. That amounted, to equal what we were collecting on that wheel tax is 9 cents on the property tax. 9 cents. It takes 9 cents to replace that. So that revenue's gone right now. And not trying to throw shade on anybody, but if you're living in a house and there's 10 cars around that house, and yeah, you're getting this, aren't you, Miss Carol? If there's 10 cars around there, and you're leasing the house, we're just not getting enough to educate your kids, pay for our roads, do the rest of them. It's time you paid your share. And that wheel tax is the fairest way to get there besides the sales tax. It's the most broad tax there is besides the sales tax. So based on that, I'd like to put this back on the agenda for our voting meeting.
Question or comment from Mr. Scarlett? Not hearing any. We will move
Quick
right
question.
along to announcements. Whoops, wait a minute.
Quick question.
Sure.
When you've already voted to do away with it, is that legal to put it back on there and vote again?
We didn't vote to do away with it. We didn't vote to reauthorize it. So I've got
thing.
the proposal I make will not be the same proposal that we saw before.
You just can't bring the same motion.
Can't bring the same motion back.
That's what I thought.
It will not be the same motion.
I'm curious to see that.
Anyone else? Miss Katie?
And I just want to add, requires 2/3 vote, 2 consecutive scheduled meetings, regular meetings.
Anyone else? Announcements, I don't see any. They will be a beer board, and be sure to look on the back side. We have an honorary proclamation of a hometown hero that's well worth a read. And if no one has anything to bring before this body, I'll entertain a motion. Oh, gotta hold on just a second. I'd like to recognize the leadership classes that are with us tonight. Say howdy, appreciate y'all coming, stand up. Appreciate you coming out to be with us. Is there a motion to adjourn?